Rain to come throughout the Carolinas, eastern Georgia, Atlanta. Can't quite say we're done yet. There are still some showers out there this morning, and therefore the ability to have some airport delays. So definitely check ahead. Of course, Atlanta is the busiest airport, even up towards Charlotte, Raleigh, down into Florida. There's the possibility of some weather-related delays. Too much rain can lead to some runoff and some problems here, especially in the high country, the high mountain tops here in western North Carolina, right on down to the upstate of South Carolina, just west of Greenville. That's actually where we're tracking some thunderstorms moving into the downtown of Greenville right now. But you can see the water vapor imagery. It is very soupy out there this morning. So when you're not getting rain, it just feels like misty and like you're sitting in a cloud right now throughout the Carolinas, back into Alabama. Even though the rain has stopped in Alabama, we still have a lot of cloud cover, and there are some showers as you make your way down the east side of Florida as well. But this is definitely where the heaviest rain is this morning. I mentioned moving into Falls Park along the Reedy River there in Greenville, Spartanburg, back towards Lake Hartwell. You see some thunderstorm activity. The Smokies getting wet as well, and unfortunately into some of those ski resorts in North Carolina. But we will get some cold air eventually coming through on the back side of this as we go through this last week of 2023. There's your wet weather moving through Charlotte later on tonight and continuing on into Western Virginia. If you're traveling I-81, take note of that. It's going to be a soggy start to the day on Wednesday, and it just continues on and on here for the Outer Banks up towards Norfolk and Virginia Beach right through midnight tomorrow night into Thursday. So it is possible we see flooding along the I-81 corridor, parts of I-85 also being impacted here, where we could see anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rain. That's showing up in the darker green, but look at all of Virginia, 1 to 2 inches of rain there. And the worst travel day is going to be today. If you're traveling here in Florida between, let's see, Tampa to Orlando, it's going to be later this afternoon when we expect more volume out there on the roads. Jordan?
All right, so now let's
do that.
Right, yeah.
All right, let's take a look at that very sharp contrast in temperature. We've got the warm weather from the northeast all the way down into the southeast. There is some cold air on the horizon. That's where we've been talking about the snow, the ice, and even blizzard conditions across the plains. But it's quite the opposite here in the southeast. Even though you've got the rain, you've got the warmer temperatures. Atlanta, 63. We should be mid-50s. Charleston, you've got a flood advisory going on there for today with your high tide later this morning, just after the 7 o'clock hour. So watch out for that. Temperatures above average from the Great Lakes into the Northeast. Even New England, you guys are going to be anywhere from 5 to 15 degrees above average. Some of you so much above average we could tie or break records with this heat. And even the overnight lows, they are way too warm for the end of December. Marquette, we should be around 11 for a low. We're going to see 34 degrees, and that will easily be the warmest low temperature for the date tomorrow morning. Sault Ste. Marie, D.C., Binghamton, and Harrisburg rounding out the list here with the possible record warm lows come tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, temperatures cool down a smidge for Nashville, Atlanta, closer to average for this time of the year. 58, though, in D.C., that's still pretty warm. 42, Chicago, we should be in the mid-30s. So even Chicago, you're above average. As you can see into the weekend, though, we'll start to feel that chill, especially during the morning time, and it's going to be right here in the plains on top of that snowpack with temperatures falling to the teens and 20s. We'll check on the airports and roads coming up. Good morning. Welcome back to America's Morning Headquarters. I'm Kelly Cass, filling in for Stephanie Abrams this morning. I'm joined by Jordan Steele and Jim Cantori. The big story still this morning is the lingering blizzard across the plains. We're calling it Winter Storm Donovan. More heavy snow, high wind possible today in Nebraska, the Dakotas. These are the same areas that were hit pretty hard yesterday. Also in Minnesota and the eastern Dakotas, we've been seeing ice, and it doesn't take much to cause the dangerous conditions, including the slick roads, snapping tree limbs, and down power lines, and that has resulted in some power outages out there between yesterday and this morning. So, Jordan, between the snow and the ice, we did have a few road closures out there yesterday, as you and I were predicting yesterday morning. Hopefully people just stayed off the road.
I-80, I think, shut down for a little.
Well, Jordan, floods are the most common weather-related disasters, according to NOAA, but 2023 saw a series of flood events overflow into uncharted territory. Meteorologist Stephanie Abrams breaks it down. And sadly, flooding has claimed the lives of at least 77 people this year. Of course, July marked the nation's deadliest month with all those flood emergencies, Jim. And as you mentioned, Vermont hit hard a couple of times this year.
Right. If you remember, just last week we were talking, it's not.
All right, guys, be very careful. Stay off the roads if you can. Even in the south, we've got some big puddles forming out there. We got a lot of rain in the southeast. Birmingham, 2 inches yesterday, but you're still down 7. We need the rain. Atlanta getting 1.7 officially at the airport, but we're still down almost 8 3/4. So at least we're making a dent in the drought. You can see the heaviest rain pushing through parts of the Carolinas, up into Virginia, even eastern Tennessee, even the mountains of North Carolina. It is rain with the system as those temperatures are still so warm for this time of the year. Airports, definitely check on those, especially the busiest airport, Atlanta. We could see either a delay program, possibly even a ground stop. Here's a look at where we have the potential for flooding from southwestern Virginia through the high country of western North Carolina into the upstate of South Carolina. Flood watch is in effect through tonight. So we do have plenty of murky air out there, a lot of moisture showing up on our water vapor imagery. So even where it's not raining, you might have some low clouds, some fog and some drizzle out there. We also have some showers just off the southeast coast of Florida this morning. But the heaviest rain is right here over Greenville, right over Main Street here around the Reedy Falls. You got very heavy rain, thunderstorms, a little bit of lightning showing up with that, crossing over into North Carolina as well around Lake Lure this morning. And that rain is just going to continue throughout the morning and even into the afternoon as we make our way through the Carolinas. And watch Florida too. You see some heavier downpours kind of flirting with the east side of Florida, moving up towards Charleston where we've got a flood advisory, especially at times of high tide just after 7 o'clock, around 7:14 high tide, but 2 hours on either side. You can see the flooding. And there's your heavy rain for the Outer Banks up towards Norfolk, Virginia by early Thursday morning. The potential for flooding is there. So if you are traveling, please be very careful. Turn around, don't drown. Possible road closures, especially where you see the darker green. We have the ability to get as much as 2 to 3 inches in some of these areas. And the busiest travel time in terms of volume in Florida, that trip from Tampa to Orlando, try to avoid 4:15 if you can. That's when we expect a lot more people out on the roads. Jordan?
All right, so let's take
All right, let's take a look at the southeast, even up to the northeast. Temperatures are pretty balmy for this time of the year. You can definitely see the sharp contrast in temperature with the blue showing where we have air cold enough for that snow wrapping around that storm system. But here in the south, it is all about the fog, the low clouds here, the drizzle, the showers. Temperatures in the mid 60s, even 60 degrees in Atlanta at this hour. That's above your average high for this time of the year. We should be in the mid 50s on this December day. 52 is what we'll see in Nashville today, so a little bit cooler, back to where we should be. 54 though in Cincinnati. You see the 60s from Raleigh to Charleston, even some low to mid 70s as you make your way down into the Sunshine State. But we're going to be above average, not just in terms of afternoon highs, but we're not getting very low at night at all. In fact, a place like Marquette, we should be dipping down to 11 degrees this time of the year for a low temperature, and we're only going to be cooling down to 34 degrees tomorrow. By the way, we saw a record high yesterday in Marquette of 47 degrees. So you can see the records that will be threatened in terms of how warm the overnight temperatures are going to be seeing. DC 48 degrees, very close to your record, but not quite. Also Binghamton, that should be a new record for you if we get down to 43. All right, so here's a look at tomorrow. The high temperatures still going up there on the thermometer. We got mid 60s in Raleigh, a little bit cooler for Atlanta. We got the low 60s for the I-20 corridor around Jackson, Mississippi. Back to the chill as we head into this New Year's weekend, especially those overnight lows below 32 degrees. We're going to feel it, especially where we've got that snow cover on the ground back toward the west. Notice the teens and 20s showing up here Friday morning, and even down south. We're going to start to look for those heavier jackets for a time. There are your showers moving through tomorrow as they push into the New York State Thruway, the 95 corridor as well. Look to the west. We see a bit of snow breaking out here in Illinois, the I-70 corridor in the Show Me State of Missouri. So that's just an indication of that colder air that moves in. And check out the mountains, the Smokies and western North Carolina, Jordan. We finally get some snow with this next system.
Yeah, not a ton.
Good morning. Welcome back to America's Morning Headquarters. I'm Kelly Cass filling in for Stephanie Abrams. I'm joined by Jordan Steele and Jim Cantori. The big story continues to be the lingering blizzard conditions in the plains. We're calling it Winter Storm Donovan. We're talking high winds, heavy snow, causing whiteout conditions in parts of Nebraska and the Dakotas, making it really difficult getting around, especially yesterday and even this morning. In Minnesota, the eastern Dakotas, we're talking about ice for you, and it doesn't take much to cause these dangerous conditions, including slick roads. You've got the tree branches that are weighed down and therefore resulting in power outages as well. So between the two, it is best to stay off the road if you can, if you've got any flexibility, because Jordan, we still have a ways to go with this storm.
Don't let that black pavement.
Floods are the most common weather-related disasters according to NOAA, but 2023 saw a series of flood events overflow into uncharted territory. Meteorologist Stephanie Abrams breaks it down. And sadly, flooding has claimed the lives of at least 77 people this year. July marked the nation's deadliest month. And Jim, as you know, it wasn't just July for the Northeast. It was just a couple of weeks ago when we had more flooding there.
Kelly, yes, the Winooski.
Right back on the road again.
That's the case.
Those windy conditions. You need your snow boots up there. Need the rain boots in the south. Try not to step in any big puddles out there. Birmingham saw about 2 inches of rain yesterday, but we're still down 7. We still need more. Atlanta getting a nice Christmas gift yesterday, 1.7 at the airport, but we still need more. We're down 8 3/4 inches here, but we have the heaviest rain now pushing past Atlanta into the upstate of South Carolina, western North Carolina, and beyond through the Virginias as well. Therefore, check on these airports where we could see some weather-related delays. You've got Raleigh, I would say Charlotte as well, down to Atlanta, the busiest airports. So sometimes that can have a domino effect to other airports if you're changing planes there. Flood watches are also in effect for southwestern Virginia, right through the high country, including Boone in North Carolina. It is coming down all the way to Greenville, where we have the Reedy River coming up a little bit this morning with that heavy rain and thunderstorms in Greenville. A lot of moisture in the atmosphere to work with, and where it's not raining, you might have fog, low clouds just sitting on the ground, misty conditions out here in the southeast. We had a water spout yesterday, a couple of reports of water spouts down by the Keys yesterday in Florida. A couple of showers down there as well, but otherwise the bulk of the heavy rain is right where we have the thunderstorms, producing rainfall rates probably about a half an inch to an inch per hour here. Greenville, Spartanburg, on over the state line into North Carolina, right around Lake Lure this morning, seeing some heavier downpours. So if you are going to be doing any traveling today or even tomorrow, this rain is going to hang around, especially for the Carolinas. Here's a look at noontime today. We still see some residual showers hanging back towards Atlanta, but the heaviest stuff moving towards Mecklenburg County there, Lake Norman in North Carolina, also around Roanoke, Virginia, Radford, Stanton, Virginia. Heavy rain for the Outer Banks as we head towards your Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday night. And then we get a little break in the action before the upper low, little band of showers coming through northern Alabama, northern Georgia. Heaviest rain right here in western North Carolina that could cause flooding. Even though we do need the rain in some of these areas, too much can cause some problems with at least 2 to 3 inches on the way, Jordan.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, we tied and broke some records yesterday. Duluth getting up to 46 degrees, 47 Marquette. Those were enough for records. We are well above average. We saw a green Christmas instead of a white Christmas for areas of Minnesota and around the Great Lakes as well. It's all about the heat. We are well above average for this time of the year. 60 degrees in Atlanta. That is your current temperature at this hour in the morning, just after 8 o'clock. And usually our average high is in the mid-50s. So we're already surpassed the highs where we typically are this time of year. You've got 66 degrees in Raleigh, pushing 70 in Charleston. We've got a coastal flood advisory there with still some high tide action going on. Temperatures above average from the Great Lakes into the Northeast, running anywhere from 10 to 15, even up to 20 degrees above where we should be, and therefore putting us in record-breaking territory yet again. Even the lows, these are way too warm. Marquette, we should be down to 11 this time of year. We're going to be down to 34 degrees tomorrow morning. That should beat out your old record of 32. Warm for D.C., maybe not quite the record, but I think Binghamton, you'll easily break that old record of 37. You can see Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, getting down to 43 degrees. So even the overnight lows are a little wacky warm right now. Temperatures will chill down as we head toward the end of 2023 and ring in the new year over the weekend. We're talking about temperatures below freezing, but still above average. You can be below freezing and still see these above average readings, especially in areas where you should be in the teens this time of the year. And we will see some teens on Friday morning up there in Pierre. You've got the snow cover to help you out too in the plains. And speaking of snow, there will be some of that action moving through the Midwest. There's your rain for the East Coast, though. Some of these airports, Boston, New York, Philly, may be impacted for tomorrow. That will continue to persist there right through Friday. But notice the cold air starting to make a comeback all the way down through the lower end of the Ohio Valley, through the Tennessee Valley, and yes, finally through West Virginia and even the Smokies and western North Carolina, kind of ending with a bit of snow out there, Jordan. 3 to 5 for those highest elevations.
There's the cold air.
Good morning. Welcome back to America's Morning Headquarters. I'm Kelly Cass filling in for Steph Abrams. I'm joined by Jordan Steele and Jim Cantori. The big story this morning is still the lingering blizzard in the plains. We're calling it Winter Storm Donovan because of its impacts, especially here in the plains where you have heavy snow and high winds, still reducing visibility, making things pretty slick out there in Nebraska and the Dakotas. In Minnesota and the eastern side of the Dakotas, that's where we're seeing some of that ice accretion. Remember, it doesn't take much to see dangerous conditions conditions, including slick roads and some of those tree branches coming down and causing power outages in a few spots as well. So pick your poison, Jordan. We've got some wintry weather to get through in the plains. This is really the only area, aside from the mountains in the west. Well, floods are the most common weather-related disasters, according to NOAA. But 2023 saw a series of flood events overflow into uncharted territory. Meteorologist Stephanie Abrams breaks it down. And unfortunately, flooding has claimed the lives of at least 77 people this year, but July marked the nation's deadliest month. And Jim, as you know, it wasn't just July in the Northeast. We also had flooding just a couple of weeks ago, this month of December.
Right. It's the second time the Winooski River went above 20 feet, which is a really big deal, Kelly, in 1 year.
Twice in 1
Actually,
year.
in 7 months.
Yeah.
So that's crazy, guys, when you think about the kind of flooding that